Today, we're diving into a high-level executive briefing on a really fundamental shift in how information is discovered online. We're looking at a structural change in the very architecture of search and customer acquisition, and obviously, it's all being driven by AI. The big objective for today is to answer one central question. How is AI changing what it actually means to be discoverable online? Well, the short answer is that the game isn't just about ranking anymore. It's all about citability. Here is a super quick roadmap of where we're heading. We'll start with the structural changes in search, what we're calling the architectural break. Then, we'll define authority as citability. After that, we're going to map out the mechanics of the retrieval funnel, the verification loop, the contested retrieval layer, and wrap up with how you can actually build a dual discovery strategy to thrive.
All right, let's jump right into part 1, the architectural break, moving from ordering to synthesizing.
To really grasp where we're going, we have to look at the baseline of traditional search. Think about how it's worked for the last 25 years or so. Search has basically operated on one specific model, right? It selects and orders existing pages based on relevance and links. You earn links, you satisfy their signals, you show up high on the page, and you win the click. Simple enough. But AI retrieval is just structurally different. It doesn't just rank documents. It gathers evidence, synthesizes it, and generates a direct answer. It's quite literally assembling information on the fly. There's a quote from the source material that really hits the nail on the head here. It says, AI search is not a new interface. It is a new machine. If you're an executive or marketer, you absolutely need a new mental model for this. You aren't just optimizing a page hoping a human clicks it anymore. You're trying to survive a system that synthesizes intent. The goal isn't merely visibility. It's being selected as evidence by this entirely new machine. Okay, moving to part 2, authority as citability. This is really the new unit of advantage. And honestly, this is the central thesis of our briefing today. The very way we define online authority has fundamentally shifted. So what exactly is citability? It's defined as the capacity of a source to be selected, trusted, cited, and used as evidence by an AI retrieval system. Back in the ranking era, authority meant links and position. Now, in this retrieval era, your visibility depends entirely on whether the system actually selects your knowledge as the best available evidence. Citability is, without a doubt, your new core metric. So here is the crucial pivot you need to make. The old unit of advantage was the ranked page. The new one is the citable knowledge asset. Historically, what did organizations do? We built these sprawling narratives, adding thousands of extra words just to satisfy a ranking algorithm. Now, you've got to pivot. You need to build structured, corroborated knowledge that is explicitly designed to be cited. This completely rewrites the strategic mandate. Authority has moved from position to citability. You're no longer competing for top-of-page real estate. You are competing to be quoted. It's a massive shift from just trying to show up to actually being the definitive trusted source in the room. Right, let's look at part 3, the retrieval funnel, which acts as this invisible filter. So how does this actually play out mechanically? Visibility is decided by a chain of filters long before a user ever even sees a generated answer. Picture your content having to squeeze through these increasingly narrow gates. First, there's chunking, where AI systems break your content down into bite-sized paragraphs. Then embedding, which translates that text into machine-readable math. Finally, you get retrieval and generation. Think about it. If your core claim depends on some context that was 3 paragraphs earlier, it's going to fracture during that first chunking step and just get completely left out. And the risk here is incredibly stark. Get this, there is a 73% failure rate at the retrieval stage of these systems. That means most of the time, systems just flat out fail at finding the right information. To put that into perspective, if your content isn't structured into self-contained, entity-rich passages, it basically becomes invisible upstream. You can't be authoritative in an answer if you never even made it through the funnel to begin with. The way to think about quality in this new architecture is that it's multiplicative, not additive. It's a product, not a sum. It's like a math equation, where any 0 turns the entire answer to 0. One weak link, maybe it's about a chunker, a stale page, a lack of structured data, and it zeroes out everything downstream. Plus, platforms literally ration this retrieval process to control their massive computing costs. If you're a marginal, unstructured source, you will simply vanish because the system can't afford the computing power to figure out what you mean. Let's move to part 4, the verification loop. trust is very much a journey here. Because what happens when your content actually does survive that funnel and gets cited? Well, there's this massive misconception right now that a citation equals a completed customer acquisition. But as the research points out, being cited is step one. It's not the finish line. When a user gets an AI recommendation, they don't usually just blindly buy on the spot. That citation actually just kicks off a brand new trust journey. The data on this tells a really clear story. Roughly 6 out of 10 users will actively verify an AI's answer. 62% of them will go straight to Google to double-check. 58% will actually visit the business's website, and 52% will click on the cited sources. So these high-intent users are arriving deep in the evaluation process, but they immediately try to validate that AI recommendation across your owned properties and your traditional search channels. So the citation opens a trust loop, but only consistency closes it. Think about it. If an AI recommends your product, but the user clicks through and finds stale pricing, contradictory claims, or the wrong operating hours, you don't just lose their trust, you lose the sale. Cross-property consistency is literally critical revenue infrastructure now. Keeping things fresh isn't just basic website housekeeping anymore. It is trust preservation.
All right, part 5, the contested retrieval layer, or what we're calling sue or sign.
As this whole architectural shift is happening, it's sending major ripples across the legal and regulatory worlds. AI visibility isn't just an SEO optimization problem anymore. It has become a full-blown governance and intellectual property problem. The market is very rapidly splitting into this sue or sign dynamic. With copyright lawsuits mounting and provenance standards becoming legally binding, executives have to start treating crawler permissions and licensing as high-level board strategy. To survive this contested layer, the most durable position you can take is pretty straightforward. Borrowed authority is now legally contested. First-party originality is the safe foundation. Organizations absolutely must build defensible, ownable, and legally clean first-party knowledge assets. Because if you own the original, provenance-rich data, you become a source that is just too valuable for AI models to ignore. Finally, part 6, the dual discovery strategy, and how to get compounding returns. Let's wrap up by looking at the strategic mandate moving forward. And we really need to reject a dangerous, false narrative floating around the business world right now. You've probably heard people say SEO is dead. Well, that's completely false. Traditional SEO and AI visibility are heavily interdependent. AI models use live web search to find their sources, which means your traditional rankings actually feed your AI citations. On the flip side, being cited in an AI overview lifts adjacent organic click-through rates by up to 35%. These two channels don't cannibalize each other. They actually converge and compound. The big misconception is that you should abandon SEO to optimize exclusively for AI. But the strategic reality? Doing that cuts off the exact branch you're standing on. You have to defend your traditional rankings while simultaneously building citability. You need to invest in your owned authority across both the old machine and the new machine at the exact same time. I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought to chew on for your own digital strategy. Take a hard look at your content, your data, your digital assets. Are you still just competing to be seen first on a page, or are you competing to be quoted as the definitive source? The organizations that understand this shift early are going to be the ones that win on actual authority, not merely visibility. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and we will see you next time.